What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Third and Goal. This is a new show we are starting over here on Bet the House. We will have new episodes every Saturday going over the three biggest storylines in the NFL. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, drop a like. It really helps out the channel. And best of luck when you bet the house on Sunday. So we just got the news today. Christian McCaffrey has been placed on IR by the San Francisco 49ers with Achilles tendonitis, alongside that calf injury, but I think what they're really concerned about is that Achilles. This is really tough for fantasy managers, me being one of them, somebody who had the first overall pick in my league. Thank God I drafted Jordan Mason, and I got him in round 13 or 14 or something. It just kind of fell into my lap, but man, does this suck for fantasy football. Obviously, he was questionable going to the season, so we kind of knew something was there, but this feels I don't want to say it's disingenuous from the 49ers. Maybe they didn't know the severity of the injury, but it feels like we didn't have a ton of clarity there. So it's really tough for fantasy. I hope for all of you out there that have Christian McCaffrey that you also have Jordan Mason, because I think he actually could really pick up some of the slack moving forward and actually be a solid running back one in fantasy. But as far as the 49ers go, this team isn't going to miss a beat. Kyle Shanahan's an expert at designing a game plan around who he's got available. This team is going to have a ton of firepower on offense, even without CMC. We saw what they looked like against the Jets. And Jordan Mason is a legit back. We saw him running violently. He's got better vision than a lot of people will give him credit for. And it was against the Jets front that the 49ers aren't going to see again for at least 6 to 7 weeks, at which point they may have McCaffrey back anyways. Their next four opponents are the Vikings, the Rams, the Patriots, and the Cardinals. None of those teams have a front seven like the New York Jets, and we saw that offensive line and Jordan Mason absolutely handle them with ease. I think Ayuk is going to have a week of practice under his belt now to kind of get back into a rhythm. Nobody that they come up against is going to be able to stop the run and the pass against this team, especially with Shanahan scheming it up. This team could easily be 5-0 heading into week 6 and adding the best running back in the league, which is just an insane thing to say. They looked really, really good against the Jets, and I really don't see any way that they don't keep it going throughout the year, unless there's a serious injury, maybe at quarterback with Brock Purdy. But CMC is a great player. Obviously an unfortunate injury. Sucks for fantasy, but this team isn't going to miss a beat. They're going to keep winning. I expect them to win against my Vikings tomorrow. Hoping I'm wrong. We'll see. Maybe, slinging Sam Darnold can come out and, repeat his performance that he had against the New York Giants in week 1. Not looking like it's likely. But we'll see. I think the 49ers are going to be a real problem for everybody, even without Christian McCaffrey heading into the next few weeks. I want to talk about Tua. Obviously, really bad optics Thursday night against the Bills with another brutal concussion. The second time now we've seen him. What I've been told by doctors on social media is actually a loss of consciousness when we see the finger reflex, whatever it's called, when he goes down on the field like that. It's such a weird situation. It's nothing I've ever seen before. From anybody else on a football field or anywhere else, really. But I think that just goes to show how serious of an injury it is, and how bad it is for the possibility of Tua's long-term health. There's no indication of whether or not he's going to be cleared to play 10 days from now in their week 3 matchup, or at some point later down the road. I'd be surprised to see a 10-day turnaround. I think that'd be really stretching it. The NFL is notorious for kind of suppressing these conversations surrounding concussions, and so I think when we have a situation like this where fans, doctors, former players, media members, all publicly calling for Tua to at least consider hanging up his cleats permanently, that's a really, really big sign that one, the NFL, the narrative is changing. People are willing to take concussions more seriously, but two, just how bad of an injury this really is for Tua, especially because this is, I think, his fourth concussion in the past 4 seasons, and just how bad some of them have been. A lot of times with concussions, there's not obvious symptoms, and so I think that's one of the reasons that it maybe hasn't been taken as seriously in the past, because you see a guy hurt his head, there's no real symptoms other than subtle things that doctors can identify, maybe enlarging of the pupils, things like that we're not just going to be seeing on a TV broadcast. So it's easy to look past it. But I think with Tua, when you have these obvious symptoms, it becomes such a huge media narrative, and I think it allows people to actually, voice their thoughts and share their real opinions on the subject without being criticized for being soft or wanting to change the game in a way that it's not meant to be played. I think this is something, we've seen some of the impacts that CTE has had on former players, and it's really important. I think people are starting to realize to look at your long-term health, and I hope Tua seriously considers retirement. We did have an interesting situation that Mike Florio reported on Pro Football Talk today, that the Dolphins actually have a stipulation in their contract that would allow them to claim north of $40 million in insurance money if Tua is unable to play due to an injury, obviously a serious concussion like this, or any other injury that would leave him medically unfit to play. However, if he is cleared to play and chooses not to, the Dolphins may have some contractual leverage to refuse future payments. Ultimately, it's going to end up being what Tua wants to do, because the Dolphins are going to be able to find a doctor that will clear him. And if he refuses, we could be in for a pretty lengthy legal battle surrounding the details of this guaranteed salary in his contract. I believe he has somewhere around $170 million left on this contract yet to be paid out. Because as always with NFL contracts, guaranteed does not actually mean guaranteed. Tua's money is guaranteed insofar as he is willing to attempt to fulfill the terms of his contract. If he's cleared to play medically and refuses to play, I think the Dolphins are going to have some contractual leverage to say that at least recoup the signing bonus or potentially refuse future payments of that guaranteed money. It's a really crappy situation for Tua, obviously, first and foremost, just praying for him and his family and his health. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a situation like that where it gets ugly. Hopefully, he's able to recover, and if he does decide to play, avoid major injuries in the future. I know he's a passionate kid, wants to play, wants to be out there with his teammates, wants to win. So I do expect him to come back, but I'm hoping this doesn't turn into a situation where, things get really ugly. We've seen the Dolphins be involved in legal situations before in and outside of the NFL, and they're not the type of organization that is necessarily wanting to avoid immoral decision-making, and I think if Tua chooses not to play, which could be the right decision, and they don't pay out the rest of his contract, I think it could be, a really ugly situation. But, prayers for Tua and wishing him nothing but the best. All right, last topic. Going to wrap it up with my 3 favorite bets for Sunday. Not a news story, but not a ton of news heading into week 2. Talked about Tua, talked about CMC. Figured why not wrap it up with 3 of my favorite picks. Hopefully help you guys if you're seeing this before the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday. Hopefully help you guys get a little cash in your pockets. If not, if it's after Sunday, maybe go take a look at the scoreboard, see how I did. Hopefully went 3-0, and you can come back next week, get some more picks over here, and hopefully we do well all season. So first one we're going to start out with is Tampa Bay plus 7.5 against Detroit. Bucks are going to the Lions, where they ended last season in the playoffs. Lost that game by 8, 31-23 to the Lions. It's always a better outlook for the Bucks with a healthy Mike Evans, healthy Chris Godwin at the beginning of the season. I think this team is better than they were when they went to Detroit in the playoffs last year. I think they're playing really good football. No, the Commanders aren't, certainly not world beaters. maybe one of the bottom tier teams in the league that we have right now. But I think the way they played, the way the Bucks played in week 1 against them looked really buttoned up. I think Baker looked really good. He was really accurate down the field, which is something that, he's not always consistent with. I think he's got a lot of chemistry right now with a healthy Chris Godwin, healthy Mike Evans. Rashad White and Bucky Irving was a really good tandem in that backfield too, I think. I think this team's going to be able to score a lot of points. Don't see them losing by more than a touchdown going up to Detroit. Detroit looked great last week against the Rams. They're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to put up points too. I think this could be a fun matchup Sunday. I think this will be a fun game to watch. Line is 7.5. I don't see the Bucks losing by more than 7. I think they at least cover. Definitely will give them a good chance to even win this game. Go up to Detroit and steal one. Second is going to be the Chargers minus 4.5 against the Panthers. This might be my favorite bet of the week. One thing about great coaches or players, they take advantage of the gimme situations. And this was the criticism with Rory McIlroy coming down the stretch of the U.S. Open. He missed 2 gimmies, cost him the chance to win, cost him the tournament. This Chargers team under Brandon Staley was Rory McIlroy. Ton of firepower, but really volatile and chaotic, and it cost them chances to win a lot of winnable games. What week 1 told me against the Raiders is this team is going to be buttoned up. They're not going to make mistakes under John Harbaugh. They actually have less talent than they've had on some of the teams over the past few years. But what they're not going to do is turn the ball over. They're not going to make silly mistakes, busted coverages on defense. They're not going to let Gardner Minshew and Zamir White come in and put up 25, 30 points on their team when it's an offense that really shouldn't be capable of putting up more than 17 against anybody. So you could say it's the Raiders. Of course, they should win that game. But with past Chargers teams, that's a game that they often bottle and come away with a loss. I think going into a matchup against this Panthers team that looked just brutally bad in week 1, this is a team that can't keep its head on straight. The Chargers should not lose this game. They should not win this game by less than a touchdown. They probably shouldn't win this game by less than 2 touchdowns. I think with Harbaugh, they're going to be really buttoned up. They're going to be willing to run the ball when they're ahead, not make dumb play calls. Justin Herbert is not going to have the stats he's had in years past. He doesn't have the receivers. He doesn't have the offensive play calling style that Harbaugh wants to put up huge numbers. They're going to be smart. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They're going to take advantage of the gimmies. That's what great players, great coaches do, and Harbaugh is going to do that with this Chargers team. So minus 4.5 against a team, the Panthers, that very likely could be heading back to the number 1 pick. I love this bet on Sunday. Last bet of the week is going to be the Steelers, minus 2.5 against Denver. I like Denver a lot in week 1. Thought with Sean Payton coming off a year under his belt, this team was going to be pretty buttoned up, kind of like the Chargers. Even without a ton of talent, thought they'd play well, could take advantage of some matchups. But Bo Nix was really erratic against Seattle in week 1. They got really lucky in a couple situations, forcing some safeties, kind of kept them in the game a little bit. But one thing that's clear is he really struggles to make smart decisions on the run when the pocket isn't clean, under pressure. I think he'll clean that up under Sean Payton. Give him a year maybe. I think that could be a situation where he looks a lot better in 2025. But he's going into a matchup against the Steelers. TJ Watt and that's Alex Highsmith and that Steelers front. They're going to put pressure on him all day. Denver's O-line isn't anything to write home about. I don't expect this Broncos team to be very competitive offensively against the Steelers in week 2. Now, Pittsburgh on the other side of the ball, to be fair, starting Justin Fields, they're not going to be world beaters on offense either. They're not going to be Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Heck, they didn't score a touchdown in week 1, kicked 6 field goals. Chris Boswell might be team MVP. But one thing that's clear, one thing that's really, really fun to watch is when you see a guy like Justin Fields change so drastically, at least stylistically, going from a place like Chicago to going to Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's still not a great passer. He's not going to, be precision Peyton Manning, Tom Brady throwing down the field. He'll use his legs a little bit when he can. Great athlete, of course. But he took care of the football against the Falcons. He made the plays he needed to make. He got the Steelers down the field, got them in field goal range, let the defense do what it does, let them take advantage of the turnovers and the field position that they create, something that they've been doing for a long time in Pittsburgh and haven't had the quarterback play to take advantage of it. When you have Kenny Pickett making mistakes and throwing interceptions every time TJ Watt forces a sack fumble, you're not capitalizing on any of those situations. I think with Fields, you might not score a lot of touchdowns, but he's smart enough under Mike Tomlin to, put them in field goal range, give them chances to score, and avoid, a high turnover number that will play them out of the game the way they did, in years past. I mean, they're winning 9 games, haven't been under 500 yet, so 9+ games with Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. I think, with Fields heading into this matchup against Denver, Bo Nix really struggled in week 1. Really like them to cover 2.5 on Sunday against the Broncos. All right, that's going to do it for Third and Goal. Thank you guys for watching. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below. I'm going to try to get to some of your guys' questions in the next few episodes. Let me know what you want to hear me talk about. Have a little bit of a discussion about some of your guys' favorite topics in the NFL. Come back next week. Hopefully, I went 3-0 on those bets, and we'll get a few more going next weekend. Once again, thanks for watching. Best of luck on Sunday, and we'll see you again next time.